Okay, so it's 9:30. So good morning, everyone. I hope your day is going well. My name is Manuel Holguin. I am the business advisor for the Community Features Entrepreneurs with Disability Program, EDP, in rural communities. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that I joined you today from the Ntlaka'pamux and Syilx territories in the Nicola Valley. The Entrepreneurs with Disability Program and the Innovation Through Diversity, Entrepreneurship and Adaptability Program IDEA and EDP provide support to people with disabilities or chronic health conditions who are interested in being self-employed or already operate a business. A big percentage of these clients we serve are looking into starting new businesses. One of the first decisions to make when starting up a business is to determine if they need to apply for business financing. The EDP works closely with Community Features offices, BDC, WBC, Featurepreneur, Vancity, RISE, and other lenders. Community Features offices are developmental lenders that understand the challenges that some clients face when they are not considered bankable by the traditional financial institutions. The 34 Community Features offices have a wide variety of loans products with more flexibility to assist potential and existing business entrepreneurs to start, maintain, or expand their business. For most business owners, they need to build and maintain a good personal credit score never goes away. Although it's true that some lenders tend to weight the value of your personal score higher than others when they evaluate your business loan application, most lenders include a review of your personal credit score when they evaluate your business credit worthiness. To understand more about the needs around credit and facts around credit reports, credit ratings, credit scores, alongside with strategies on how to protect or repair credit, we have with us today Anita Moore, the financial educator for the Credit Counseling Society. Welcome, Anita.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for joining us. Now, I see that Leona is having a little bit of a hard time hearing. I've turned up my volume, Leona. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Just before we get started. Just going to make sure you can hear me okay. But I am going to get started. So again, oh, perfect. Thanks, Leona. Thank you for having me, and again, for Manuel, for inviting me and everybody attending. We're going to talk today about the truth about credit, exactly what Manuel said. What is credit? Why is it important to have, to make sure you make your payments on time? Pardon me. If you don't, just in case you don't know who we are, the Credit Counseling Society is a nonprofit credit counseling organization. We're actually the only nonprofit organization in Western Canada. Our head office is located in New Westminster. We've got offices all over BC, although we do help people all the way through Ontario and the Northwest Territories. Again, being nonprofit, we want to help consumers with minimal to no cost for what we offer for help. And what we do at the society is we help people with managing their debts. We help people with budgeting. We help people with any kind of debt, credit, money management problems that you have. You can call our office at any time. You'll see the toll-free number there, or if you are in the Lower Mainland, it will be the 160, or so yeah, it'll just be 604-527-8999. So we help people with budgeting. We help people with again, money management. We educate people, which is exactly what we're doing today. And one of our specialties definitely is financial literacy. And then we also give hope. A lot of people who get into debt always feel that you know what, there's no end for me. There is no end in sight. And that's not true. There's always options for people. You just need to know where to go look for those options. And that's what we do at the society, is we let you know what your options are with regarding your situation. So diving into our webinar today, our agenda will have us explore credit in Canada, what some of the costs of borrowing can be, credit reports, ratings, and scores, and the facts and myths about credit. And lastly, how to improve your credit. Just a little bit of housekeeping I forgot to mention. If you could please, yes, keep your microphone on mute while we're doing this session. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and then I'm going to answer the questions at the end. I'm going to allow time for that. All right, so the objectives by the end of the session, my hope is that you're going to be able to understand and describe the cost of borrowing, order and understand your credit report, and you're going to be able to describe 2 ways to improve your credit score. So when we talk about what is credit, we have to ask ourselves, do we know what credit is? So what it is essentially a borrower's capacity, your capacity to borrow money now with the promise to pay it back later. And it's usually with interest, unless you're lucky enough and you have family that's going to lend it to you without interest, and that's even better. It's also your borrowing capacity. And we're going to talk a little bit about that capacity and what exactly that means. But talking about credit in Canada, we also need to take a realistic look at what's happening in Canada, and it's scary. So don't feel if you're the only one that's that's struggling understanding what this is all about or what's going on. It's not just you. A lot of people are struggling. Look at that. 29% of those with high debt suffer severe anxiety. And again, we talk about financial wellness in the workplace because that's something that we always offer. Because people who have high debt have stress, and stress equals illness. And we know that. So we want to be careful with that and know that if we do have debt, if we do have struggles, we need to find help for that. 40% don't pay off their credit card at month end. I want you to remember that number because we're going to talk in just a little bit about the cost of borrowing and what it looks like if you don't pay off your credit card at the end of the month. 44% of Canadians would find it hard to meet their obligations if their pay was delayed by 1 week. Think about 2 years ago at the beginning of COVID, what happened. Okay, that was scary. That was scary for a lot of people, especially the people that were in the hospitality industry, who all of a sudden didn't know where their next paycheck was coming from, where their next dollar was coming from. 50% report living paycheck to paycheck. Isn't that funny how that number is equivalent to 50% that have no budget? Because it's really important to have a budget. And at the society, we like to refer to a budget as a spending plan, a written spending plan. Now, for the last comment, you're going to see there for every dollar after tax income. So that's your net income. We owe $1.71, the average Canadian. And what that $1.71 comprises of is secured debt, unsecured debt. So your credit cards, any loans, overdrafts, secured meaning a mortgage or a vehicle loan. So for every dollar we earn net, the average Canadian will owe $1.71. So what is the purpose of credit? Now we all know that credit is used for things that we want, things that we need. But do we know that credit helps us build credit? Okay. It's the capacity to borrow. And again, that's going to come up a little bit later, but just remember what that is, the capacity to borrow. So there's many reasons why we use credit. Some are good, some are bad. All right, using credit cards wisely. This is one of my favorite slides. And it's not to scare you. It's basically just to bring the factual information to you. So if we look at the minimum payments on a credit card, and most people don't know what they are, they just pay, whatever they want on their credit card. But I encourage you to take a look at your statement and see on the front of your statement, it will tell you if you only pay the minimum balance, this is how long it's going to take you to pay off this debt, right? And that's a scary one. But so let's take a look here. Let's just use an average figure of $3,000 with an interest rate of 20%. So the minimum payment is $60, right? So the minimum payment on your credit card will almost always be 2% of the balance. All right, so 2% of $3,000 is $60. Now I'm going to ask you, can anybody tell me, put it in the chat, can anybody tell me roughly how much time you think that it might take you to pay off a debt, a credit card, if you're making minimum payments of $60? Don't do any calculations or anything. Just throw it in chat. Just give me a guess. Anybody? 4, 5, 15. Interesting. Great guesses. 10. And how does that make you feel when you look at those numbers and you think, wow, those are high numbers? But look at what it really is. 53. 52 years plus 7 months. And that's because of that $60, you're paying interest, and only a very small portion is going to your principal. Therefore, look at the amount that it's going to cost you. So sometimes we think of, you know what, if I really need this and I'm going to put it on a credit card and I'm going to make payments on it and I'm going to try to pay it off as soon as I can. Just make sure that you have a plan on how quickly you can pay it off. And that can be even looking at something like an extra $40 a month. And sometimes we think $40 a month, that's a lot. But if you back up a little bit and you take a look at your personal expenses, whether you're buying coffees, lunch, you're eating out, can you cut that back by $10 a week to make it $40? Because when you look at these numbers, you're going to see the importance of paying just that little bit extra on your credit card to how much it's going to reduce it by. It's huge. It's a huge amount. So if you are not, yeah, Geneva. Yeah, so if you are not able to pay your credit cards down, then maybe you need to take advantage of a free confidential appointment with a credit counselor. Okay, because that's something that, look at the interest that you're paying every month. All right, now here's some interest rate comparisons, and these are really important because especially if you're looking at payday loans. Payday loans, if those of you who don't know what they are, they would be something like a Money Mart. Sometimes they're on corners, Cash Store, Cash Now. There's a ton of them. Now, they do serve a purpose for people who perhaps get paid on a Friday, but their rent or mortgage is coming out Monday, and they don't have an overdraft. The bank won't allow them to cover it. So they'll go get a payday loan, which will give them X amount of dollars of their paycheck, and then they'll take that amount out of your bank account on payday. It's fine if you need it for a one-time emergency. However, most people that take out payday loans are not able to pay it off in one time because look at the interest rates, 390% in BC is what that interest rate is going to be equivalent to, because it's $15 per 100. So if you needed $1,000, that's $150 that they're going to take off. So you're only going to get $850 if you need 1,000, and then come payday, they're going to take 1,000, and you're short already because you're short the 150 that you were to begin with. So it just keeps going and going and going. If you or anybody else you know has payday loans, please call us. We can help you get out of that cycle. So what is a credit report? So aside from the financial implications, building credit and understanding credit also includes understanding credit reports, ratings, and scores. So some of you may already know that a credit report is your detailed history of your credit behavior over the past number of years, right? And when I talked about maybe borrowing from family or friends, we have to think about, okay, they know who I am. They know that I'm able and capable to pay it back, but do creditors where I'm applying for credit, do they know what my credit is like? Do they know that I'm going to be good? Probably not. All right. So let's move on. What is on your credit report? Personal information, your residential address or your mailing address, your employment information, your date of birth, your social insurance number. They will have parts X'd out so that you can ensure protect your identity with the X's. There's consumer statement, trade lines. Trade lines is on your credit rating, and we're going to talk about that, but I want to let you know that first of all, a hard hit and a soft hit. A hard hit is if you are applying for credit. If you're applying for a credit card, a loan at your bank, if you're at the football game or the hockey game and you want to get that free hat and you're in a hurry and they say, sure, just fill out this application or, just really quick, sign it. You're allowing them to do a credit check on you. And that is going to potentially affect your credit score and bring it down. All right. If you do what is a soft hit, so a soft hit is anything for you checking your credit rating, an employer or a landlord, and they do not affect your credit score because you are basically, they're just checking for information. You're just looking for information. All right. So the hard hit is somebody checking your credit to approve credit, and a soft hit is basically just you checking your own score. So your credit rating is the lender's record of your payment history on your account, right? So it usually uses a letter and then a number. And each trade line is going to have its own, each credit card, each line of credit, each mortgage is going to have its separate trade line. So they're all individually rated. They will R for revolving, which would mean credit, I for installment, which is like a payment every month. O would be open like a cell phone. Then we have your mortgage, your line of credit, and your lease. Now, here are the numbers that are going to follow depending on what kind of debt you have and how you pay your debt back. So so if you have a credit card, it would be an R, and 1 would be paid as agreed, which means that you are making your minimum payments on time every month. If you start to fall behind, you're going to see numbers go down to 2s and 3s and 4s and down the ladder. If you have any 2s, 3s, again, that's a red flag that says maybe you need to get some help and you don't need to live with that stress. Okay. Now, take a look at the bottom. We've got a 7, 8, and a 9. A 7 is if you are looking at a consolidation order, consolidation program through anything other than a financial organization. So like a bankruptcy trustee, if you're doing a consolidation, what's called a consumer proposal, that's a 7. If you happen to have a vehicle that's been repossessed or may need to be repossessed, then it's an 8. And then a 9 is anything that's gone to collections. All right, so please keep in mind when I say anything, parking tickets. If you had to take an ambulance to the hospital, unfortunately, that's not covered under MSP. There's going to be an $80 bill. And it's really important to pay that or even pay small amounts when you can, because they will send it to a collection agency. Now, all of these ratings stay on your credit report for 6 years from your date of last payment. Even when it goes to collections, it's 6 years from your date of last payment. And I would hate for anybody to have a parking ticket for even $100 go to a collection agency because it's going to completely ruin your credit rating. Even when you pay it back, it will be marked as paid, but it's not going to come off your credit report. So who wants to know about your credit rating? Now, lenders, because they need to know, are you capable of paying back this debt? Landlords and employers. Now, for the most part, they want to look at employers and landlords. How are you managing your debt? Are you responsible? Will you be a responsible employee? A landlord, will you be a responsible renter? And I always say, go prepared. If you are looking at going somewhere and renting, or to apply for a position somewhere, bring a copy of your credit report. If they say to you, well, for sure with the landlord, but if an employer says to you, are you okay if we do a credit check? Just be prepared. You can bring a copy with you, but just know what's on there. So you can even say, I want to let you know that 2 years ago, I fell behind on my phone bill because I moved and I forgot to give them the address. Right? So tell them in advance, be prepared. Now, there's a couple of credit reporting agencies here. So we've got TransUnion and Equifax. These are the only two that we would recommend that you use. All right, these are the two that are from Canada and the original two. There are other credit reporting agencies out there. One is called Credit Karma, which is from the United States, and one is called Borrowell from Canada. If you're going for the Equifax and TransUnion, you are going to get updated information. The other two are private companies, and there is no guarantee that the information they have for you is updated. All right, so please research reviews before using them. They're not all bad. If you have a credit card, banks, Scotiabank, Capital One, sometimes that they will give you authorization to go ahead and check your credit report for free because it comes with your account. So you can do that as well. It's free to check your credit report once a year. We always recommend checking one of each. So one of Equifax, one of TransUnion, maybe one in December or January, one in July or June. Check one from each, because there are some creditors, as we know, there's a whole bunch of creditors out there now that never used to be. And some will report to both companies, some will report to one, and some will report to the other. So we do recommend that you check both of them. If you find an error on your credit report, it is up to you to get it fixed. All right. Now, your credit score is a predictor of how your lenders are going to see how likely you are to pay back your debt. Now, nobody has a perfect score of 900. You could get in the high 800s, and I don't usually see a 300, maybe in the 400s. The higher your score, the less risk you are to the lender. So if you have a really good score, they're going to know that maybe you don't have much debt, maybe you are paying down your debts every month, that you're responsible. And lenders do different scores than what, if you get a credit report with your score, you will have to pay, I believe it is $15 plus GST to get your score. And you will see that, I forgot my train of thought. That's okay. But with your credit score, the amount that is owing, 30% of the amount is owing is making up your credit score. So if you're carrying debts and you're not paying off your balances every month, oh, I know what I was saying, is your lenders are going to have their own scoring system. So your normal credit score is 30% owing 35% of your payment history. So that's weighed quite heavily. And remember, in order to have your credit score maintained or brought up, you must make your payments on time every month. Then we have length of credit history, how long your record's been open, how long you've had a file open, the different types of credit you have, and new credit. Now, your financial institution, they may want more to know on how much you owe and how you pay your debt back. They also may want to know the new credit, because remember I talked about that every time you apply for credit, it's going to show up on your credit report and it could affect your score. They also want to know, are you a credit seeker? Do you apply for credit all over the place? Because that can be a red flag. So here we're going to do a few true or false questions. And please go ahead and put your answers, either a T for true or an F for false, in the chat. So I can afford the minimum payment, so it's okay to buy it. What do you think? Ha, look at you guys go. Excellent. Excellent. And that is truly correct. It is false. And we talked about making your minimum payments every time, on time, every month is what is required. Just the minimum payment. However, we did show on the chart that if you're paying just the minimum payment, how long it could take you to pay your debts off. Okay. And another true or false, I need a lot of credit cards to build credit. Oh, you guys are quick. Excellent. Look at you go. Fantastic. Okay. It definitely is false, because the more open credit you have, the more risk that your lenders are going to think that you can take, and the more risk it is for you, because having more credit is definitely very, very tempting. And also having more credit makes you think you're richer than you really are. We have to be careful with that, because a lot of people can get into a lot of trouble if you have high limits. Okay. And it doesn't affect your credit score if you want to call your credit card company and ask them to reduce your limit. Doesn't affect it at all. All right, maxing out your credit card, then paying it off builds credit. What this means is maxing it out every month and then paying it off every month. Ah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because exceeding your credit limit by 60% on a regular basis is going to bring your score down, because it signals financial difficulty, because you're not able to bring those balances down. True or false? I use my credit card for points, so I put everything on it. This is a tricky one, so keep it in mind when you're responding. It is a tricky one. Okay. The correct answer to this is it depends. All right. So it depends on a few things. Are you paying it in full every month? And if you are, then that's fantastic. But we also have to remember, we don't want to max it out every month, because it could seem that depending on when it reports to the credit bureau that you're always carrying a balance over 60%. How much are you paying in annual fees, in interest? Does it really make sense to have that card? There are a lot of people that think, and myself, I used to have a card for air miles, and the annual fee was $120. I never earned $120 plus in air miles every year, because it's hard to build up those air miles. Just like some points are really hard if you're not using it for a lot of purchases. And you have to look at it. Is it costing you to have that? Because that doesn't make any sense. As well, if you miss payments, which means that you are breaking the terms and conditions of that credit card contract, they could void all your points. So be really careful when you're doing that. So true or false, I don't need high limits to build good credit. Do we need those $10,000 limits, or is a $500 limit fine? Exactly. Exactly. And you're all right. That is absolutely true. You can have a $500 limit on a credit card. You can use it once a month to put a cup of coffee on, to put a tank of gas on, whatever you want. That's all you need. And again, as I mentioned before, you can phone your credit card company and reduce the limit if you don't need it. All right. It's not going to affect anything. It's going to protect you from the risk of going into debt again, or potentially. Another way to think about it is if you have a credit cards in your wallet and you have a credit card that has a $500 limit even, and you want to buy candy bar for a couple bucks. You're thinking, oh, I got 500 bucks on my credit card. A couple of bucks means nothing. But if you're following a written spending plan and you know that you have allowed yourself $5 a week just for the junk food, whatever it is, $2 is a lot of $5. You might say, geez, I don't want to spend $2 of my 5 on a candy bar, right? But if you have credit, you're really not going to think twice. All right, to build good credit, I pay my credit card as soon as I use it. So what that means is, don't do like my son. Hang on a minute. I'm not going to jump ahead of myself. Are you going to the store shopping and coming home and paying it off? That's what we want to know. Is that true or false? Don't have any answers yet. So that is false. Now, my son used to do that and used to be so proud of himself and say, Mom, 0 balance on my credit card. Yay. Well, yeah, he orders skip the dishes and then he eats and then he pays it off right away. Well, that's not good because he thought it was fantastic, which I agree. I can see his thinking. But it has to, the balance of your credit card, what you're using has to hit that statement every month. And then that balance is going to report to the credit bureau. So it shows that you are using the card and you are paying it off every month. We don't want it reporting as a 0 balance. All right. Do you need to pay a monthly fee to ensure that your credit and identity are protected? I'm sure you've seen $19.99 for credit monitoring fees. They're all over social media. If you happen to pull a credit report, it will say that we will monitor your credit for $19.99. Do you think that you should pay that? Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. Yeah, absolutely, Manuel. You should never, and Geneva, you should never pay anybody to monitor your own credit rating. You can do it. Remember, I said once a year for free for each Equifax and TransUnion. You don't need to monitor it, and let alone pay $20 to have somebody monitor it for you. If something comes through on one of your credit cards, and I've had it happen twice, and the last one was probably just over a year ago when I had a call from my credit card company and they said, we're just seeing an odd purchase on your credit card and we want to make sure that it is your purchase. They said, are you sending a computer back to Ontario for over $3,000? I said, no. And they said, we didn't think so because that's out of the ordinary for you. So they stopped it. But I got the phone call, which was fantastic. And I've also had some other things happen with one of my credit card many, many, many years ago. And somebody had taken an imprint on my card and were trying to use it, but I had the card in my wallet. And I did obtain a card, and I did get a phone call because I was out of the country that these charges were going through, and they called me when I was at home. All right. So you don't need to pay somebody to monitor it. I can rebuild my credit in 6 months using a credit rebuilding company. I'm going to explain a little bit about what those are. But think about what I just talked about rebuilding your credit and how long things stay on your credit report. Do you think you can rebuild your credit in 6 months? Okay, the answer is false. It takes a while. Remember, everything stays on your credit report for 6 years from your date of last activity. So it takes a while to rebuild up your credit rating. Just make sure you're paying your payments on time every month and start bringing those balances down. Now, the credit rebuilding companies as well are going to want to charge you, are going to want you to take out a loan, make regular payments. They're going to charge you a high fee and a high interest. And they're going to tell you, you make payments in 6 months, and this is going to completely bring your credit score right up. It's not, it's impossible. Please do your research. If you're thinking of doing anything like that, give us a call. Again, we're nonprofit. That's what we're here for, is to help you. All right. So now I'm just going to take a minute and ask you if you could please just do a short survey for myself, for the Credit Counseling Society, as well as for Manuel and Community Futures, so I can let them know what you thought about this presentation. Did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it to others? Would you like others? If you've got a cell phone, all you've got to do is, you're probably used to this with going to restaurants. A lot of them have the QR code now. Put your cell phone on, put your camera on, and hold up your camera to the QR code. And it will take you to surveymonkey.com, or you can click on the link. Now, I'm going to put that link in the chat as well, so you can see it. I'm also going to let you put on there my name, and the topic is, oh, you know what? I don't have that link here. Manuel, are you able to type that in the chat for me? So my name is, please, that's the link to SurveyMonkey. And the truth about credit is the truth about credit is the topic type. I'll go ahead and put it in there for you. All right, that should work. Oh, there we go. And you know what? I was just double checking, and it is actually 69B as in Bob. So Manuel's is right. I have a 6 on mine, not a B. So thank you very much, Manuel, for your help with that. So if everybody is taking that, that's fantastic. Again, we really do appreciate it. We really want to know if you would recommend these sessions to other people. If you have any questions, again, Manuel mentioned to please put them in the chat, and we're going to go through them at the end. We're definitely going to have time for that. I'll just give you another 30 seconds, maybe. It's a really short survey. I will also be emailing Manuel a copy of the slide presentation if Manuel, if you want to share it. I know that you're recording this, and the Survey Monkey link will be in there as well. I'll also send you some information regarding credit bureaus, some handouts that we have. All right, so let's move on. We can come back to that if we need to. All right, so improving your credit, again, improving your credit does take time. Now, if you have some credit and you have credit cards and you want to pay them off, or you're behind on them and you're like, I don't want to use any credit anymore, I'm going to focus on paying these off. And you think, well, maybe if I just had a small credit card. You can always apply for what's called a secured credit card, and you can get those through Capital One. I'll put those in the chat as well. Your financial institution may have it, so check with them first. Coho and Capital One is great as well. And what a secured credit card is you're putting the money down to get the credit card. So it's at no risk to the lender. So it's not like they're going to turn you down. but you will have to have money saved up. Some of them are if you give them $500, they'll give you a $500 credit limit. Capital One is for $75, and they'll give you a $300 credit limit. So it's good if you're starting out as well, and for some reason you can't get credit, a secured credit card is the way to go. A cell phone contract. Now, a cell phone contract, that's fantastic if you have one that's in your name and you have a credit card. Have the cell phone contract, the bill that's due every single month, have it come directly off your credit card, because we know then it's going to be paid automatically every month off your credit card, and then you're going to pay your credit card every month. So that's two things every month right there that are rebuilding your credit. Now, just take an extra second to think about this last true or false. Good credit is everything. And I know there's a big stigma about having good credit, and you have to have it. I love your answers, Geneva, Damon. False. Because good credit is not everything. All right. It's not at the expense of having a high debt load. It's not at the expense of just saying, I'm going to make my minimum payments every month so I have good credit, when you're paying hundreds of dollars in interest or thousands of dollars in interest. It's not worth money stress with fights with family. And self-worth. And some people hook their entire feelings of self-worth to their credit rating, or even worse, their credit score. Don't do that. It's really, really hard to, especially with your credit score, don't be getting copies of your credit score all the time. You don't want to do that. But going back to having those high limits of credit, how you could be at risk at using them. I present a lot of workshops to recovery groups, and a lot of the recovery groups used credit to support their habits. So to them, good credit was the worst thing that it was the worst for them, because they had good credit. And addiction, when we talk about addiction and stuff, it can be anything. It can be a shopping addiction. That is true. There is Shopaholics Anonymous who have shopping addictions. And could you imagine if you had all these high limits? Good credit would get you into a lot of trouble. So you're absolutely right. Good credit is not everything. And what does not build credit? Your Visa or MasterCard debit card, prepaid credit cards, prepaid cell phones. Payday loans will not build credit, but if they're sent to a collection agency, they will. A prepaid credit card. Now, a prepaid credit card is one that you load. Maybe you put $100 on it and you just use that credit card, and that's what you spend. I just want to say one thing that a lot of you probably don't know, that is not a topic of what I usually discuss in this session, but a lot of people don't when it is that if you are buying gift cards for people, for friends and family, do not buy the Visa, MasterCard gift cards that you see in grocery stores, drugstores, everywhere. That's got the sparkly boxes that are wrapped in silver wrapping paper. Don't buy those gift boxes. Those will charge an average fee of $350 to $550 just to buy the card, just to get it activated. And then the person you've given that card to, they're going to be charged an average of $1.50 to $2.50 a month on that card every month. So all of a sudden, somebody doesn't use that card for 6 months, and guess what? That card's worth a third of what you gave them. It reduces. Buy a store card. Okay, so just letting you know that. Final thought is credit is neither good nor bad. It's how you use it that makes it either a tool or a trap. And again, be wary of those quick fix solutions. There are people that take advantage of the vulnerable people. Be careful of the ads that say, we can reduce your debt by 70%. A lot of those are bankruptcy trustees. Okay, so just be careful. Make higher than your minimum payments. Order your credit report once a year for free. Remember, improving your credit takes time. And check out our mymoneycoach.ca. That's a huge resource site that that the Credit Counseling Society has. So you definitely want to check that out. A lot of information that we talked about today is on there. So now my hope is that you're able to describe the cost of borrowing, understand and order your credit report, and describe 2 ways to improve your credit score. We've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check out our money newsletter, our social media. We've got our money newsletter is great. It's got a lot of tips. We've got our blog, and follow us, learn lots of tips. I'll leave that up there for a minute. And then the next slide has got our phone number and our online chat through nomoredebts.org. I definitely want to go through the chat and answer those questions. So we'll do that right now. And then if you have any questions, you can please put them on there. If we have time, we can definitely unmute ourselves. All right. So I'm going to take a look at the chat here and see what questions we've got. I am going to start at the beginning. Some questions I may have already answered. So let's take a look and see what we have here. All right. All right, so.
Anita, if it's okay, I will share your email and contact information to all the attendees by email later after the session.
Yes, that's fine. That's totally fine. Thank you, Manuel. All right, so your credit card is maxed at $9,800. What if a person is on disability? That is a fantastic question, Geneva, because at the Credit Counseling Society, we firmly believe that you have a right to live. And that is your first and foremost priority, is to get food on your table and to pay the housing so you have a roof over your head. So if somebody is on a fixed income on disability, please contact us. We do have ways to communicate that you can communicate with your creditors that will help you relieve some stress and let you know what options you have in dealing with the debt that you have. Damon, I must disagree with the landlord. I've never, nor will I ever share my credit report with a landlord. And no, I have never been denied a rental, even with a large Canadian-based REIT. Okay, so fair enough. Absolutely. There are some landlords, yeah, they can tell, character holds a lot of weight. But sometimes not so much, because we know what it's all about when people judge. I mean, you might have in this day and age somebody that walks up that's full of tattoos and has green and purple and yellow hair, and nowadays the jeans, you're paying $100 for jeans that have holes in them. There are people out there that will judge and take a look at you and go, yeah, I don't think so. Okay, that's not what it's all about. It's all about saying, hey, we're going to give everybody here a fair shot, but we do want to check your credit report. Now that's fantastic if you've never been denied and you won't share your credit report. Good for you. And that's sometimes the stance that we have to take. But there's such a, right now with rentals, I don't know if you are following the Landlord Tenancy Act. There's a lot of things going on out there with people that are able to, live in a home and completely destroy it and trash it. And this is why landlords have taken to doing credit reports. And it's not new. It's been there for years and years. So yeah, that's an individual choice. If you don't want to do a credit report, then that's a place that you're not going to be able to apply if they have it stated in the ad that a credit bureau is required. All right. See here, what's next on here. Lara has a question, and that is, oh yes, we are holding questions to the end. All right. Lara, you're always tempted with that logic. I'm sorry, I don't remember what that question was, the different types of credit.
No, it was when you said something and Geneva posted, and it was the whole, but I can afford the monthly payment, so I can afford it. Like, I logically know that's wrong, but I was empathizing and saying, I still catch that thought going through my head and being like, no, That's not how it works.
I know, absolutely, absolutely, because that's the way we're trained to think. We're not trained to, unless you were brought up by parents who saved every penny and paid for everything in cash, and you know, they're
Even then, because I was not brought up those parents, that I did not come out that way despite all their efforts. And also, I think part of it too is like a loan is different, right? A loan is set up that way with an endpoint.
yes,
You know, it's easy to collapse them. They're a very different agreement.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely,
I also was never taught. I got my credit card at 19.
yeah.
I was never taught that you were supposed to pay the entire thing off by the end of the year, right? I was sold the idea that you always have this available and you pay it off fully when you can, or you know what I mean? Like I didn't understand really how the credit company makes its money.
Okay, so yeah, so
Mhm.
that's a good statement. I just want to correct you on paying your credit card in full every year. That is not the case. So how basically how it works, and you know, unfortunately, the credit card companies are not going to share all this information with you, or the people selling the credit cards aren't going to give you this information
Mhm.
because the credit card companies make so much money in interest that they don't want you to know that, hey, you know what, if you pay it off every month, we're not going to get a penny. It's all better for you. They're not going to tell you that. And that's unfortunate. And again, I think you were talking about, oh, let me answer this first. Raising your limit and you keep maxing it off. They keep raising your limit. Okay, so you can stop that. You can phone the credit card companies and you can say, do not raise my limit on my credit card. Just the same as you can say, lower my limit on my credit card. I don't want it. Okay. Again, it's not, this is why we present this financial literacy and all this stuff, because people out there don't know that. And I think, Geneva, you were talking about at the beginning about how was it you, Geneva, that were saying that they called you and were telling you about that you were making lump sum payments here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's correct. When you get your statement, you have 21 days, I believe it is, from the statement date to make your payment. So that's when you need to make your payment. And when it says your due date is the 15th, do not pay your payment on the 15th, because electronically even it could take a couple of days to get there. In the banking system, if you paid in the bank and it's on a Saturday, if they're closed Sunday, Monday, sometimes that payment's not going out. So
Well,
you
I
have
was
to
doing
watch.
like, sorry, I was doing like your son was doing. I was buying something, right?
Yeah,
And then I would pay $100 thinking
yeah.
I just paid it off. And there
Oh, I seem to be losing you. I don't
my
know.
bill off
Okay, there we go.
because
Yeah.
I paid way more than what I had just bought and owed. So then they would say my just right
I seem to
because I
be
didn't
losing
realize
you, Geneva. I don't know if it's me, but I seem to be getting a lot of static on the line.
it's me. Sorry.
Okay, that's
My
okay.
internet isn't very good right now.
Okay. Yeah, but that is the main thing. And you know, hopefully this session has helped you understand a little bit more about your credit rating. And please check out on our website, go to mymoneycoach.ca and read up more about your credit. There's great information on there. All right. So what's the reasonable credit limit for a small business owner? That, you know what, Geneva, there is no way to answer that, because it all depends on what you need and what you'll qualify for. Sometimes a business owner may need a $10,000 line of credit, but is not going to be able to qualify for it. Sometimes they may only need 1,000. Sometimes they might need 20,000, right? It's really hard. It's what you and your lender think that you're going to need, just in case. All right. Do you provide tools recalculating how long it will take off to pay off a debt? Tanya, I'm going to send, or Manuel, you and I can have a conversation. I've got some fantastic information that I can send you. And one is a little spinny wheel. And one side tells you if the credit card is this much and the interest rate, how long it's going to take you to pay off that debt. And then the flip side is savings. If you want to save for something, how much do you need to put away? So if, you know, I can get, send it all to Manuel, or I can send it to you. If you guys have offices, please let me know, Manuel, and I can discuss that. Or you can let me know now, Manuel, if you like, whatever works for you.
You share it with me. I will send to all the attendees.
Okay, now it's going to be, so it's going to be a mail out package.
Okay,
Is that okay to still send to you?
yeah, that's fine.
Wonderful. All right. Do you have solutions or programs to help us manage our debt? Absolutely. Please give the Society a phone call and we will help you with an appointment that's free and confidential. We do have, if Manuel is going to be asking me to present any other sessions, we do have one that's called Debt Solutions, and that will help you to understand what your options are out there. I don't normally, Amit, give out my own personal phone number and email. I don't mind certainly if you have a couple of questions, but any phone calls to do with setting up an appointment and stuff would go directly to the 527-8999. Your Community Futures office at Equifax don't report mortgages. Do you know why? You'd have to check with them. I'm not sure. How do you update your Equifax info in the most effective? They have my employer and you've had over 25 years, but show your recent debts. Okay, so Equifax drops off employment inquiries 3 years after. So if you, every time you apply for credit, it updates your information, Danielle. So if you're applying for a credit card today and you put your current employer, that should automatically update. And if it's not, maybe it's because you haven't applied for credit in the last 3 years, or you can always contact Equifax and TransUnion and see if they want to update it for you. Damon, yeah, it's discrimination and I stand by. I absolutely 100% agree with you, Damon. Yeah, it is discrimination. But unfortunately, that's sometimes right now, the way life works is, you know, there's a lot of choices that people have to make and choices that we have to make. And absolutely, it's a choice and you're right not to provide anything. Bonnie, you recommend when renting, read the fine print in your contract. They may not verbally disclose, but may pull the credit report. They can only pull a credit report, Bonnie, if you have signed. Okay, even if it's in the contract, if you have not signed, they cannot pull it. So yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying is to read the contract, but if you're signing a contract, absolutely. But if you have not signed that contract, they cannot pull your credit report. Damon, have to court rulings to show it's discrimination. Yeah. Bonnie, is it true that if you pay off your credit card within 21 days, number one, it shows your transactions and usage, and there is no interest? So there's great questions. There is no interest if they reach your payment in full by your due date. That's that key date. If they receive it after the due date, you're going to be charged interest. Okay. And number one, it shows transactions and uses. No, it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't show the transactions and usage. It just shows that on your statement. When it's reported to the credit bureau, it will show a statement balance and how you pay your debt. Quite often, it will also show your limit on your credit card and the high credit that you've used on that credit card. All right. Yes, that spinning wheel is fantastic. And I'm going to get that out to Manuel like right away. I'm going to send you a whole bunch, Manuel. And yeah, it is fantastic. It's great.
I do want to share something. So as a former lender, so I was running running the credit checks for many people. So it was I was very shocked to see that there are so many, especially youth people, that they have a really bad credit rating because of cell phone companies. So, and especially of some of them were coming from the States. Then I learned that in the States, the cell phone companies, they do not report their bills. So only here in Canada. So there are some people here when they come to Canada and they said, okay, so that the cell phone companies are not reporting, which is not the case. They are reporting, and you see sometimes that they went to collections $200, amount or $150. And I said, I can believe that that small amount is affecting my clients' credit rating. But again, because they didn't know that they were being reported to the credit bureaus.
And in having said that, the United States Credit Bureau, like out of country credit bureaus, do not affect and do not transfer over to Canada. So just so you know that as well. But thank you for that. Yeah, it is. It's really sad. Like when I do university classes and universities, a lot of people don't pay for their parking, or they get stuck in class. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get out there, my parking meter. And then they get a ticket and it's like, I don't have any money to pay my ticket. And they just forget about it. It's really, really sad that if they don't keep up on that it could potentially, affect their credit rating negatively for so many years.
Like you said, Anita, so when I ran the credit checks, I have only seen throughout 12 years running credit checks, I only saw maybe 2 times when a client scored more than 850. Right now it's called FICO score, and before it was called Beacon score. And
Yes.
I have never seen a score of 300. So the lowest I have seen is like 420, something like that. The average, so according to the banks, the average bankable person should score 650, right? So
Yes.
there is a lot of percentage that people score below the average here in Canada. So it's important to know that as well.
Absolutely. When I started in the financial industry, I'm going to show my age here, but it was in 1979. So I'm a little bit older. But when we did credit checks, there was at that time a 0 credit score. And anybody that had a bankruptcy on their credit report had a 0. So that was really interesting. I'm glad they got rid of that. The other thing was I going to say, with the credit scores, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue and I have just forgotten what it is. Oh, the 650 you were talking about. So that's really interesting as well, Manuel, because you may have direct deposit at your financial institution. You may have a whole bunch of money in RRSPs. You may have a mortgage. You may have all of your banking there, and you say, oh, you know what, I think I'm going to apply for an overdraft, even just $500. And they turn you down and you're like, what do you mean you're turning me down? If your credit score is not over that 650, they automatically turn you down. So then you have to go to the bank manager and say, hey, what the heck? I got all this stuff here. I do all my banking, because that's what head office has stated, that's what they base it on. Anybody under 650 under gets nothing. Lisa?
Yeah.
Hi, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Never owned a credit card. Do I have a credit score? Like, or to go to the bank to apply, because I am on disability.
Okay.
Do I have a credit card? Or sorry, do I have a credit score right now?
When you open up a bank account, they will always do a credit check, and that opens up your file.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you recommend, if I'm going to approach the bank to try to get a credit card, what would be the best plan of action? Call Equifax first, get that knowledge on my side, and then present myself to the bank? Or
did you say you're on disability, Lisa? Okay, so if you're on disability, then the chances of you getting a credit card with a low income might be a little bit harder.
Right.
So what I would recommend is trying Capital One, because Capital One has I can see Lara nodding her head. Capital One has a specific credit card for people that are newcomers, people that don't have credit, people that have poor credit ratings. They want to give you a chance. So try that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Anybody else?
Yeah, thank you. And I don't know what time we have. So I was more of an experience share. I don't know, and I don't have to, but just.
Are we okay for time, Manuel?
Yes, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, I just was because I've been through bankruptcy like more than
Okay.
more than 7 years ago. So because I've been good for a few years, and of course I did sessions with you guys because that was legally required, and it was absolutely wonderful. So thank you.
Oh, good. You're
Put that
welcome.
little in there. I think I had to do at least 2, and it
Yes.
was eye-opening. Also self-forgiveness, allowing experience I had because you carry so much better, we can a better money. And then not that I recommend bankruptcy ever, but the learning I got from that was just like, it completely changed my world. Right. And I
Yeah.
also, and I don't mean this to be a negative statement, but the biggest learning I had is that the bank and the credit card companies are not my friend. They're not my enemy, but they're not my friend. As in, they are not there to look after me. I am. And so I somehow grew up thinking they won't let me do anything that's bad for me.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they will. So they will happily help you snow yourself under. And I don't mean that from a like, but it's true. Because I know when I
Yes.
bought, I was in a massive debt. I was over my head. I bought a condo. Everything was maxed. I couldn't even really afford the condo.
Yeah.
And because I owned property, I walked into the bank one day and they're like, oh my gosh, we are rewarding you with your $15,000 line of credit. And I was like, no, you are not. Like, they will just hand you more and more of a certain type of debt, the not the scary stuff, like the stuff
Yes.
that's made out from under.
Yes.
But I also just wanted to share too, and I think you answered this, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Do we just, because I remember trying to correct some stuff on my credit report, and I always do the by mail because then it's free, right?
Yes.
I have to pay the fees and they send it to me and it's great and I review it. And there was one thing I remember I kept trying to get off. I was able to correct my living address and
Okay.
employment, I think, because they seem so delayed in getting that information.
Yeah.
And then there was one credit that actually disappeared with my bankruptcy. They still show it's still existing, but no balance. And they show monthly like non-payments, like zero. And I was like, take that off. It's supposed to be gone. Like, I don't know if it affects me, but I was unsuccessful. And I tried a few times in a few different ways. And I could never, they kept saying, no, you can't do it through this route, go this route. And then I would do that route. And they say, no, you can't do it.
Okay.
All
It
those-
is 6 years from your date of last payment. And
Oh, no.
it's law that Equifax and TransUnion doesn't quite follow the law in that sense. So go
That's
ahead, you want to say
Sorry,
something?
no, that's not what I've said that
Oh.
inaccurately. Yes, it does stay on forever. It was showing it not closed, even though it got closed. All of my accounts got closed with bankruptcy. Every other one said, they say.
When
shut
did
it
you
down,
receive
shut it
your
down.
discharge
3 years. Oh, actual discharge.
for your bankruptcy?
Is that like when you're done? Yeah, that was like about 8 or 9 years ago now.
That's probably okay. So that's probably when you did your
2014?
counseling sessions with
Yeah.
us, was when you filed
2013, 2014. Yeah.
2013. Okay. So 6 years from that discharge date, all those debts have to be removed from your credit report. So if you pull a credit report right now, they should not be there.
Okay, so I'll
They
do
should be
another
gone.
update. Okay, because that one just concerned me because I was like, it didn't reflect reality the way the rest had. It's
Yeah,
like that bank didn't report accurately. So I'll check mine again. I think
It should all be gone.
I usually do it summer, so I'll do it soon and get an annual. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. And I have given you my email address. I just put it in the chat, Larissa. If you want to contact me by email, I would be happy to help you with that.
Yeah. Well, I'll pull another one this year and just see, because it should have
Okay.
gone off last year,
Yeah.
but I feel like I'll give them some wiggle room to get it.
Yeah,
sorted.
yeah, they should have reported it closed. I don't know
Okay.
what their problem was, but
I'm due to check in the next couple months anyways. I try and do an annual check. So yeah.
wonderful.
Thanks.
Great.
And
You're
I do-
welcome.
I do want to mention that I do have my Equifax account. It's an online account. And
Yeah.
the problem that I have is that I have two last names. And for Equifax, they are always thinking that my second last name is my only last name, and my first last name is my middle name. So that was a problem. So I call Equifax, and at the moment, because there is information that I cannot change, I call them and they change it right there at that moment. Well, I was updating my information in my online account. And also, before we end this conversation with this session, thank you so much for all the information. I want to ask one more question to Anita that it could be beneficial for everyone here. So
Yes.
what would be the advantage of contacting the Credit Counseling Society before considering bankruptcy or a consumer proposal? Because I don't want to get to deal with the trustee. What would be my advantages of contacting you guys first?
And you're asking me, not them, right? Okay. There's so many advantages. I can't tell you. And Lara hit the nail on the head when she said, I didn't know where I was going. I had to go to you for counseling sessions. So what we do at the society is we are going to let you know what your options are. That is your main huge advantage to calling us. We are free We are confidential, and what your appointment, your counselor will go over absolutely everything. They will go over a full budget with you, and they're going to look at, based on your circumstances today, what are your best options, and they're going to explain them all. And if you go bankrupt, this is what it's going to look like. But if you did a consumer proposal with a trustee, this is what it's going to look like. Now, if you do a credit counseling debt management program with the Credit Counseling Society, this is what it's going to look like. So we don't, it would be, you know what I always like to say is, would you go to a orthodontist specialist before you went and saw your dentist? No. So you're not going to go to a trustee and file bankruptcy before you talk to somebody about what you need, right? You're just jumping right in the fire without phoning somebody and say, do I really need bankruptcy? Because sometimes if you go into a trustee's office, they're going to, oh, you want to file bankruptcy? Sure, absolutely. Have a seat. No. It doesn't work that way. And even if you don't have debt problems, you can call us and say, hey, you know what? I don't know how to do a budget. Can you help me? Absolutely, we'll help you do a budget. Okay, and that's what, Larry, you would have went through when you came for the 2 sessions. We would have went through a budget. We would explain to you how to do your budgeting, how to include saving money. And you can't put a price on that. And other, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. But the huge advantage is we are going to let you know what your options are, so you have factual information about what's available to you out there before you make any rash decisions.
May I add one comment to that, just from my experience?
Yes,
One of
yes,
the
absolutely.
things I will never forget from that, like, there was, again, I was really glad, like, I had to and I didn't want to, and then I was like, oh, this was the best thing ever. Is part of the I worked in social services, which is kind of a notoriously underpaid sector.
Yep.
And I'd done that since out of school. And of course I had school debt and all the things and jobs that required a car when I couldn't afford a car. You know, I did hard jobs that I never even asked for what I was going to get paid to find out if I could afford to do the work. And I remember them helped me look at, because I'd already pared down. When you're in major debt, you already dump all of your unnecessary expenses.
Yes.
And he said to me, he goes, you've never been able to afford living expenses. Like, you've literally never earned enough money to keep ahead of the basics. He goes, no wonder you keep dipping into your credit card.
Yes.
You know? And so that reality check was invaluable, because it's like, okay, I need to make some different choices about my earning within my power. Like, yes, I can pare down my spending, but there are basic expenses that just exist in life. Even when, you know what I mean? Even when you go,
totally.
You can't get away from those. So it helped me like you said, it helped me choose some different directions, because I just doing work I love, but I wasn't able to make enough money to live in Victoria, right? So it was like, what do I need to do about this?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Would you send me an email, Larry? You've got my email address there. Would you send me an email with your email address? I just want to run something by you. Yeah.
There is one more question from Leona. I guess it costs money to claim bankruptcy.
Oh yes, and then it says, this is a hard topic for me. I'm in trouble, but it is a subject I'm in denial. Yeah, Leona, that it is tough. It really is tough. But sometimes you have to understand that bankruptcy is not always a bad thing. As Lara's been sitting here saying, sometimes it's what people need to get a fresh start, and just to be able to say, you know what, that's what I need, because again, stress, money issues causes stress. Stress causes illness in your health. You need to take care of yourself. And depending on your situation, if I have said to people that have sat across from me when I was a counselor for the first 13 and a half years I was here, that if I was in your situation, looking at somebody right straight on, I would say, I wouldn't hesitate to file bankruptcy. Because there becomes a point in your life where you're never going to get your head above water. You're never going to get your head above water. Leona, why don't you give me a call? I would love to chat with you in person if you don't mind about this, just over the phone. Oops, sorry, I'm going to give you my direct line. That's my direct line. Yeah, I'd love to chat with you about this because there's a whole bunch of things. Bankruptcy does cost money, but it depends if you're on disability. Sometimes you don't even need to file bankruptcy if you don't have a lot of debt. Sometimes just a letter to your creditors asking for forgiveness of the debt is a possibility as well. But yeah, and I don't think I've ever heard from anybody who has gone bankrupt that says, I wish that I had never gone bankrupt. So please call me.
Is there any other questions for Anita before we end this session?
Thank you so much. That was really great. And I will be calling so that I can get some further counseling and.
Yeah,
information.
absolutely.
Thank you, Laura, for empathizing with me.
You know what? And that's one thing you're going to find about our counselors as well is we don't judge anybody for any reason at all. And sometimes people will come in and say, I have all this debt. I went on vacation. I traveled for 3 years. The first thing I'm going to say is, did you have fun? Okay. Yeah, you had fun. You had a great time. Excellent. Now let's figure out how you're going to pay off this debt. Okay. We're all very empathetic because we could be in your shoes, you know, tomorrow. You just don't know what life brings. And we don't care what happened. I mean, it's not that we don't care, but that's, you know what, we're here to help you to make the right choices.
Thank you so much for
Oh, yes.
attending it.
Amit,
Thank
please
you,
feel
Laura.
free to call me as well.
It was great having you, Anita. Thank you so much for all the information. And I'm
Thank
sure
you,
that we are
Manuel.
taking something away from this session. And again, just a reminder, if there is any session that as a business owner you would benefit from having, just send me a quick email and I will do my best to deliver those sessions. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
See you.
Thank you again, Manuel, for having me.
Thank you.
Bye, Manuel.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you,
very
Manuel.
welcome.
And Anita, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you.